to eliminate the paralysis that is caused by procrastination and perfectionism.
The 80% approach. This is a great book for those people who are suffering from perfectionism and procrastination. I would advise you to take a look at this book, and this today we are going to review it. This is a book written by Dan Sullivan, and we will give you the nuggets that are in this book, but of course you can go out there, read it in full. And to help me do that, my great friend Bwana Andrew, karibu sana.
Thank you, sir.
So we are talking about the 80% approach. Just a brief review. What is this 80% approach?
So in a nutshell, it defines the 80% approach as basically a way of thinking and acting that seeks to eliminate the paralysis that is caused by procrastination and perfectionism. And I think those two are very related, but sometimes we tend not to see as this thing interrelated. You find that most people who are perfectionists are always procrastinating. And we'll see how they are interrelated. And you'll find that, again, people who are procrastinators, the reason why they are procrastinating is because they are looking for perfectionism, or they're trying to get that ideal situation. So the book really goes into define these 2 points. And I don't know, in your case, in terms of perfectionist, what is the problem with perfectionism, and how can we end up reducing this? And then we'll discuss about how the 80% approach works it out. So it defines perfectionism, and I think you can look at it this way, that perfectionism, paralyzes our ability to make decisions and commitments. And when you think about it, I think it's a mental obsession with seeking the ideal in virtually everything in your life as a bare minimum.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing bad about it, but life is not like that. I mean, if you look at how life is, life is never really a straight line. You'll always make one step forward and possibly two steps backward.
Right.
Life consists of adversity. We are currently in the midst of one. I'm sure there are people that drew up very perfect plans and strategic plans for this year, but now they have all been sort of disrupted. Not that it's bad to plan and envision a better future, but it's good to ensure you come at life with a mindset that there's certain things that might not work as you envision. And having an obsession on an ideal situation, I think is not a very healthy way to be able to tackle challenges when they come up. Procrastinators also, I think it's that paralysis of not taking action until certain aspects are perfect. If you're thinking of starting a business, if you decide to draw up a business plan might say you need a certain amount of capital, you need to be in a certain environment, you need a certain skill. You might not have all those in place, but that does not prevent you from taking the first step, getting in, acting, making that decision, committing to it, and making that forward movement.
That's good. When I read the book, I came to the realization that both perfectionism and procrastination, they are both habits. And I used to think about procrastination in the sense that it's just the feeling or the habit of putting off something. You don't want to do it, you keep on postponing it, and sometimes you end up not doing it, or just find an excuse of putting it away altogether. But I realized it is not just the idea or the habit of putting things away or postponing, but when you interrogate it further, as the book does, you get to understand what is the root cause of this idea of postponing or not taking action. It is because, not that you don't feel like, but at the inner core of it is because you're looking for an ideal situation for you to take action. And that ideal, perfect kind of a situation will never be there. It's nothing, at no point will everything align perfectly. for you to take action? Would it be when to start a family? Would it be when to start a business? Would it be should I go back to school? Should I take my kid to this? At no point will you have everything aligned together perfectly. And at the back of your mind, if you're looking for that, you will always postpone. You will not take action. You will always be procrastinating. And so to understand that the fact that we don't need to have this ideal situation, you don't need to have everything 100% aligned together, Dan Sullivan comes with the idea of 80% is always good enough. So maybe there's a diagram. It talks about the 80% and how the next step just improves. Maybe you can take us through that. Yeah.
So it says, so you have a diagram which consists of various sections of 80%, which represent a human effort towards a particular task or towards delivering a particular project. The entire diagram signifies a single project, but within the project there are a series of tasks. Now he says the first effort that you put in on any task, that amounts to about 80% of what leads to attainment of that project, whatever the objective is.
Let's try to be a bit more maybe practical. Let's say this project would be, I want to write a book. So the first attempt that you do to write that book will always give you
80%.
80%. Okay, good. Okay.
So the 80% could be, I need to write down the content. Now I might think, wow, am I ready to have all my facts together? And these are the stumbling blocks, mostly generated by that feeling of procrastination and perfectionism. You want everything to align. You want everything to be perfect for you to take on the action. But the first action you need to take is just write it down. You've got the idea with you, you understand the subject matter, go ahead, write it down, and get that first 80% right out of the gate. And that could be probably your first draft, which then will allow the next person, who will probably be your reviewer or an editor, to now do the next 80%, which is now reviewing and editing the book. And as faster as it does that, then that will lead to you then either making few corrections that will then finally lead to the production and publishing of that book. So the faster you do it, the better, so that the other person then can be able then to take on the next series of tasks that are required.
So any first attempt on doing anything, maybe writing a book, starting a business, or finishing a certain project, creating a marketing campaign, whatever it is, always the first attempt will give you 80%. And Dan Sullivan says 80% is always good enough. But again, you shouldn't stop there. If now you can give it to someone else, either to review, to correct, or to do anything on it, irrespective of how much time and effort they put into it, they can only improve it by
another 80%.
Another 80%.
And I think this is the other point, maybe to just jump in a bit on this idea of why you need to do the first 80% as fast and quickly as possible. He says, despite how much preparation that you do, the first time you do it, it will still be 80%. It will not improve the quality of it in any way further. It will still be 80%. And that's why he says, because anytime you do any task, once you complete it, you then start having other ideas on how to improve on it further. So then it can become a vicious circle that never ends. And that's why it's always important to, sort of give yourself a deadline, deliver, and ship it as soon as possible. Subsequent changes or improvements can still be applied, but that doesn't hold you back from releasing either your first draft, your first edition, whatever that effort might be. So go ahead, act, and deliver as fast as possible.
And when you do the math, you will do the first attempt, it will be 80%. The second person that comes in, does anything to it, will only improve it by 80%, which means now it is at 96%. They will only have improved 16%. The third person will only improve it by 3.2%. And as they will still take as much time and effort as the first 80%. So you realize that you don't need to be stuck at that point of perfectionism, whereby things will never be at 100%. Do your 80% as quick as possible, move it to the next person. And of course, you're trying to do things that are more areas that you're more talented in.
Correct.
Areas that you are good at, and then leave the other person to do what they are good at. So I would also say the book talks about some 8 advantages of taking the 80% approach. We might not be able to go through all the 8 advantages, but I will just put it to you. Take a moment, read the book. This will help you to stop procrastinating. This will help you to overcome the idea of perfectionism. I wouldn't, I've heard of the statement that because of time, or I've decided to put off the idea of reading or taking the seminar about procrastination. So it is basically the logic. Don't put it off trying to read this book. Do it right away, and it will really liberate you. Is there any other thing that you
I think what I will add,
yes,
I think there's a statement in the book which talks of what procrastination and perfectionism causes or results in you.
Yeah.
And it talks of beyond just delaying your delivery on either a particular project or a particular output that you're required. At the very core, these mental habits, if they persist, what they are doing is they end up undermining your individual confidence and motivation. And that has got other far-reaching effects upon your own life. So you can imagine, if you don't have any confidence, that means you'll not be able to take on challenges, or be a person who takes on initiatives to grow and improve themselves.
Yeah.
So these 2 elements, as they are referred in the book, I think have got a far much insidious effects on your own mind and how you take on life and your productivity in any effort that you take on. So take this very seriously. I would really recommend applying this approach in your own life. Life will never have everything perfect. So deliver on what you can, and as you do that, your personal confidence and motivation grows, and that will help you, take on much bigger responsibilities, much bigger challenges as you grow and mature.
You've just reminded me something. On the flip side, as procrastination and perfectionism hold you back and does not really motivate you, when you take action and do something and actually take it off your plate, there is some hormones, is it endorphins, that are released in your body that you really feel good about it. That now you are on a vicious cycle of wanting to do the next one complete, and you are in a natural high to keep on doing something. So while these ones will put you down, taking action, doing something, completing it and putting it off your plate gives you even more energy and more satisfaction, and your productivity goes way up. I think that is it. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Read the book. Is only 35 pages. It's a small book, but quite profound. The 80% approach. Don't forget, like this video, leave a comment. We really appreciate. I will be able to respond to each and every comment that I get. At the same time, subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Daniel Mutuku. Press the bell button so that you can get notification each and every time we are releasing a new video. Otherwise, I really appreciate you staying with us. We are out.
See ya.